Hello, lovers and friends. It's your friendly priestess host, Josephina Bashout, here with a juicy and heartfelt episode that I'm going to dive in today. So get your matcha, get your shoes on, put up the volume if you're in the car, because this is a conversation we can all relate to and want to tune into. Recently, I polled my community on social media in one of my private groups, asking them what is the reason and the desire that they want to be in a community of liberated and embodied feminine leaders like myself, and also the type of community that I magnetize and attract. And I've got probably about 70 answers. So thank you all for participating. I love you all so much. And today's episode really sparked my interest, and it really related to something that moved me in my heart in the beginning of my own spiritual journey as well, which is why I wanted to dedicate this whole episode to reclaiming our sparkle. Now, reclaiming our sparkle can mean so many things. So let's start off with what it's not. Reclaiming our sparkle is not just about throwing sparkle on our face and, like slapping lipstick on a pig and calling it beautiful. It's not about that, right? It actually is so much deeper, which has to do around any type of negativity. Before I go into it, it's not fake positivity. It's not about anything to do with the exterior of makeup or clothing, although those can be beautiful ways to adorn and enhance our sparkle. So I want to just preface by saying what it's not, as well as any idea that we may think this is a bunch of bullshit or woo-woo. I just want to also start off this podcast by saying, being a feminine empowerment expert for going on 14 years right now, the one word that women have both resistance and desire to when I have them create their own ideal feminine archetype when they're in my private practice, and I do and guide them through my lifestyle design that gets them to live and embody the life that they want. The quality that seems to both repel and attract is the quality of sparkle. Most of my clients, let's say the ones that are lawyers or high-powered executives, feel like they cannot access their sparkle at all. Like it's a far distant idea. They have no idea. They're also pretty uncomfortable with the word sparkle. Now, this is what I want to bring to the conversation, is actually the depth and the deeper understanding and the power that comes when we choose to actually stretch ourselves into the quality of sparkle. And again, it has significant meaning for me. And I will share a little bit with you more in detail about what that meaning is in just a moment. I want to start with the question that one of your beautiful community members sent to me, which is this. She says, "Hi, Josephina. I've been stuck and hiding my gifts of joy and radiance from the world, after being told that I am too much, as well as being told that I am not enough. I've lost confidence in myself. And Josephina, I love your spirit, your passion, and your teachings. I hope one day to regain and reclaim my sparkle." Ah, thank you so much for sending that message, because this episode goes out to you, my love. You and every single woman or human on the planet that is just like you. And this episode goes out to the younger version of myself that also had the same struggle, challenge, and belief. And I want to start this episode by saying that, and I said a little bit of it in the very first intro episode of this season, that when we are in our full power and our passion, and what she said in yours, I love your spirit and your passion. When we are in our full spirit and when we are in our full passion, there can be an internal fear and negativity that we've got going on, that we're going to trigger people, that we're going to upset people, that people are not going to like us, or that people will judge us. And we're going to want to control how people perceive us. And it's just absolute insanity, because you cannot control how anyone perceives you. I cannot control how you perceive me and this show, how you perceive my moniker entitled Pussy Priestess, which, trust me, I've gotten a lot of lashback, but also a lot of celebration for it. And I can't control if people love it or hate it. I can't control your perception of me, the way I look with my hot pink nails and my pink dress and my skin showing and my spiritual things in the background, what you're thinking about my voice right now, what you're thinking about how I look right now. And if I was to focus on trying to control your perception of me or the way that you are interpreting me, instantly I would not be connected to my sparkle and my inner light, because my focus is focused outwardly on things and situations that I cannot control, on you, someone else, that's not me, that I cannot control. And it's a part of letting go of control. It's a bit of a sexy surrender, that we let go of the control and we surrender to letting people have their own experience of us when we are in our spirit, when we are in our sparkle, when we are in our passion. And I will say that the real reality and harsh truth is this: you are going to upset people. You are going to trigger people. People will be triggered by you being in your passion and being in your sparkle and being in your light. It's a natural thing. And the more that we actually own the fact that it's a part of our gift to the world and it's a part of our gift to other women to help initiate them into their power, not because we're so special, but because we chose to walk that path of embodiment and meet our negativity and meet our doubt and meet our fears and our insecurities and still shine bright anyways and bedazzle ourselves and wear then the sparkles and the bright colors and all the pieces, not because that's what makes us vibrant and bright and beautiful. It's because it's an expression of our natural, vibrant essence. And there is the big difference, that we can all really benefit from connecting to our inner sparkle. And I want to start this episode by also adding a little part that's kind of paradoxical. So life is full of paradoxes. We cannot get out of this and that, and there's competing intentions, and life is full and full and full of paradoxes, as I just said previously. And I want to highlight that in a really real example, which is this. I've mentioned previously on the first episode, and I'm going to share it again now. In the same questionnaire, that's how paradoxical life is. In the same questionnaire that I sent out to my community, where I got, Josephina, I want the confidence, and I love your passion, and I love your spirit. Like, it's inspiring me to reclaim it. There's someone else who sent me another feedback and another comment from their own message. And you would think it would be the exact same thing, but literally the second message back was this: "Hi, Josephina, I see you on Instagram and I really enjoy your stories. They're actually very empowering. However, I must admit to you that at first I was a little off-put. I wasn't sure what to think about you or how you show up and the things that you're saying, but I kept an open mind so I could listen to your message. And guess what? I found out that I loved it and that I love you. Thank you." Now, here's a great example of the paradox. One woman loves my passion, loves my expression. And meanwhile, we have another woman who felt off-put by me, who felt triggered, right? Who, another woman messaged me about my podcast and said it was hard for her to listen to me in season 1 because of my passion. The amount of passion I have, the amount of jubilance, je ne sais quoi, like fire behind me in my spirit, was triggering for her because of how much she wasn't in that. And so I'm starting off this podcast with really the understanding that everything is a paradox, and that we get to decide what is true for us, and we get to decide on what we focus on from a place of empowered positivity, not toxic positivity. And like I said, fake sparkles and just acting so happy and pretending like we're this really sparkly, bright being when we're not actually connected to that light. And it's really important for me to highlight that, because when you're on the journey of getting unstuck and coming out of hiding, don't expect everyone to say, "Yeah, I'm cheering you on. Yes, girl, get bright, get bigger, give it to me, give it to me, give it to me," unless you're in my community. If you are in my community, or you're in my world, or you're in my coaching container, or you're in my women's group, absolutely expect to have that happen. That is what I am known for. That is why I'm notorious at the work that I do of empowering the feminine and every woman who loves to feel prized, who loves to feel seen, and loves to feel celebrated. And I help you get comfortable and move past the awkwardness of making those first moves, of being seen, and that helps you get unstuck. But in the world at large, don't expect that to happen. In fact, expect the paradoxical thing to happen. People were going to get triggered. People will be confused. But that's the opportunity to don't believe any of your own internal doubt or negativity and make it mean anything about you. That's where your spiritual journey and your spiritual growth is, because everyone is just mirroring back to you these moments where you get to become liberated and reclaim your power. Now, that's a part of how you get unstuck, is by making the move and starting to, again, every step you take, you're breaking the chain. You're breaking the chain of who you were in the past, and you're breaking the chain of your ancestors, of the women behind you, who all were changed to these stories of doubt and negativity, that it's not safe or not allowed to be as big as you want to be. As she said, you're too much. Or like the chain of like the slave girl, like you're not enough. So pipe down, chain up, sit aside to the corner, right? And both of those stories are also paradoxical, because how can I feel like I'm too much, but then also feel like I'm not enough at the same time, right? It's a paradox in itself. And it's not meant to make sense. It's meant to break us free from these chains that we have been unconsciously chained to, which are cycles of negativity and self-doubt. The more that we break each chain and break each chain, and as I love to say, bash out of these limitations, the more that we reclaim a little bit more sparkle, a little bit more sparkle, a little bit more sparkle, and a little bit more sparkle. And then we start to flex the muscle and practice never letting anyone outside of us or even ourselves dull or dim down our sparkle. Now, this goes to owning. The second step would be really owning the fact that your journey is one that's not only designed to help you expand into embodying more of your feminine gifts, which is the gift to the world, right? The gift to the world. The gift to the world is your divine feminine radiance, the love, the caring, the nurturance, right? Our gift as a feminine creature and being to the world is that our energy is life-giving. It's life-taking, and it's also life-giving. So to breathe life into and love into our own internal light starts to create this warmth quality about us. That's one of the qualities that you'll feel within me, even though there might be passion and there's a level of intensity that's there. There's still always a level of warmth you will always feel and hear from me if you get beyond your own triggers around the way that I look or the intensity of the passion. And that's because I'm here to be an expander for you. I'm here to help expand you. And that's why you're on that journey of expanding into your own inner sparkle. Why? Because when you reclaim those little parts, you've got to breathe life into it, and breath with a little bit of a flame starts to create a bigger fire. And that bigger fire starts to shine really, really bright. And it needs a bigger space to be able to fill up that space. So it becomes a roaring fire, right? And that starts all with a little bit of light. Now, as I'm saying all this to you, you might be thinking, wow, Josephina, this is pretty profound. And you might be thinking, well, this is cool, but that only works for you. Well, no, my loves, you're also an expander. If you feel called to this work, if you're listening to this episode and you are in my world in any way, this expansive work has everything to do with you claiming your self-worth. It's self-worth work, point blank. Reclaiming your inner sparkle has to do with you reclaiming your inner divinity and your inner light, the inner goddess essence within you, within every woman that we all own and we all possess. We may not know how to access it. We may never have had a touch point for it or a real felt experience of it. Or maybe we've had little hints and tinge of it when we're on the dance floor or we're dancing alone in the room. And maybe we've shut it down, or we've gotten to a relationship and we didn't want to upset our partner who was uncomfortable with it. And so we believed that we were trying to control the way they perceive us as like wifey material. So we shut it down, right? Or maybe the world told you you're too much, right? Or you're not enough, right? Or thoughts that we're thinking based on media and publications. And so we've maybe shut it down. That has everything to do with your own self-doubt and your own negativity. Now, I want to share with you that in that paradox of too much and not enough, well, then middle is the truth, the heart, right? All of that exists, right? In Tantra, everything exists. You are not enough and you are too much. You might not have enough money, but you might have more money than some others. You might not be the most beautiful, but you may be the most beautiful that someone's ever seen, right? It is all this paradox that are happening at the exact same time. And I know that when I stepped into this work and I started expanding, I absolutely met up against my own self-doubt and my own limitations and honestly deep negativity cycles that I was in for decades. Decades. I can't do that. I can't say that. That's too much. Or on the opposite, I don't care. I'm just going to be balls to the wall, doing whatever I want to do, being a rebel, being a trailblazer, sleeping with whoever I want. Who cares if I lose friends? Like, it's like, whoa, you're too much. And so I was starting to believe both of these narratives, that I was too much and that I was not enough at the same damn time. And all it did was it kept me stuck in an upper limiting belief and a ceiling around my self-worth. So once I understood that, I started to do this deeper work inside of myself to recognize, oh my goodness, I'm letting the world, I'm letting my stories, I'm letting my beliefs, I'm letting my emotions just all completely dull my own sparkle. Like, who's to blame for this? No one but myself, right? No one but myself is dulling my sparkle. I can blame it on the world, but it's not actually the world. And the truth is, if we allow ourselves to feel too stressed out and tired without rest and relax, we're dulling our sparkle. If we are allowing ourselves to feel too overwhelmed by our sensitivity, our empathy, we're dulling our sparkle. If we are allowing ourselves to not feel good about ourselves, if we are judging or blaming or shaming or repressing or rejecting any aspects of ourselves, we are the ones that are dulling our sparkle. If we are pushing ourselves to go faster or harder than we're actually really feeling like we are capable and available to do right now, we are dulling our sparkle. If we are forgetful and we can't focus and we have a lack of presence and we're scattered everywhere, we're dulling our sparkle, right? And I want to just say something about that piece, because the sparkle is like, think about like a sparkler. It's like contained and it's bright and it's big and it's like in this whole container in itself. But that can happen if we're fragmented and we're scattered in all parts and we're not fully powered up, right? So that's something for you to think about, of like, wow, am I forgetful? Am I losing my presence? Am I losing my power? Am I all over the place, right? So that's something to think about. And like I said, why this is relatable to any woman, no matter what background, no matter what religion, no matter what culture you come from, no matter what your vocation is, your career, your purpose, your dharma, your mission, like all of this is applicable to any single woman that is on the planet, right? Because we're experiencing this, right? What are some other ways that you dull your sparkle? So if there's too much drama, okay. If there's too much drama in your life and you just have too much negativity in your life, you're dulling your sparkle. That means if you are talking about other people all the time, if your main topics of conversation with your girlfriends is about other people, or your drama that you have with other people, or the negativity that you have in your life in regards of how you hate your body, or how you, and let's go into, let's say an illness. Like if you keep talking about your illness over and over and over and over again, or if you're going through something that is challenging and you just keep talking about it over and over again. You went through a breakup and you're calling all your friends to tell all your friends about the breakup, or how he ghosted you, or how you can't believe he did this. Or if you're talking over and over again about how your skin is breaking out and you're having bad skin issues and bad acne, that's dulling your sparkle. If you're constantly telling people, I'm not in a good mental space today. I'm not in a good mental space. I'm not in a good place in my life. I'm not in a good place in my life. That's dulling your sparkle. Now, don't get it twisted, my loves. There's a difference between having a heart-centered conversation and intimacy with a friend and saying, hey, like today's been kind of hard. And yeah, it didn't go the way that I really wanted it, but I'm so happy and grateful that I'm here with you now as my friend. Like, let's watch a movie, or let's go on a walk, or let's, like, that's a very different dialogue than being like, oh my God, girl, you're not going to believe what happened. This thing went wrong, 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 wrong. And then that happened and I'm hating it and I ate too. Like, that's a whole downward negativity cycle and spiral. That was me in my 20s. In all of my 20s, I was constantly caught in a negativity cycle and pattern all the time of negativity and self-doubt. All I could do was focus on the things that were going wrong. All I could do was focus on the ways that I was not showing up, or didn't feel chosen in a relationship, or felt like I wasn't enough for this, guy that I had pedestalized and thought was like super amazing because, his name was Tyson Beckford and we were going on dates. That really did happen. But I never thought that I wasn't enough on that, because he took me out on 2 dates and then I decided I didn't want to go and continue that. So fun fact about me, I've dated tons of different celebrities. And I'm telling you that there were moments when my not enoughness came up when I was dating these celebrities all the time. I'm not a celebrity. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not beautiful enough. I'm not wealthy enough, right? And what did that do? It made me show up on the dates less confident, less attractive, less radiant, less giving, and then just didn't work out, which is all a beautiful, great blessing, right? I wasn't planning to be with any of them, but it was just fun in my Hollywood party days. And then I'd also have the experience of like, too much. I met men and they'd be like, wow, watch out, she's trouble. Wow, watch out, you're too much. You're too much. You're too much, right? Or I would say something silly in my family and I'd have older sister being like, oh my God, Josephina, you're too much, girl. You're too much with that. You're too much. And so I also believe that I was just too much. I had men that would tell me, oh, wow, you're so intimidating. You're so intimidated. I'm so intimidated by you. You're so intimidated. And at first I'd be like, yeah, that's right. That's right. I'm powerful. But then over time, I was like, oh, wow, that really hurt me. It's like, wow, I'm intimidating. I'm too much. So I took that and was like, maybe I need to shrink, and like, my expression is too much, or my sex drive is too much, or my voice is too much, or my fashion is too much, right? So let me kind of quiet it down and hide it a little bit more, and, keep myself kind of staying safe under the radar. And then maybe they'll choose me because I'm just like a normal, person like everyone else. And I don't ruffle too many feathers and I'll get along great with the family. And that's, good wifey material or good relationship material. Or, I don't want to share what I really think or have me be in my full power, because like, he'll think I'm too much and he probably can't meet me. So I'm going to just absolutely act like I'm less than what I am. No, girls, no ladies, no women, no humans. Like, no, absolutely no. That is insanity. That is not how we are going to get what it is that we desire the most in this world. And going into the ways that you're also dulling your sparkles are if your relationships are just so difficult. If you have difficult relationships over and over again, right? This is romantic, this is friendships, this is family, these are coworkers, like these are in-laws. Like if you're constantly having difficult relationships, that's going to dull your sparkle. If your body isn't cooperating with you, right? If your body isn't cooperating with you, if it's not losing weight as much or fast as you want, if it's breaking out, if it's feeling tired or restless, or you're feeling like your body just isn't cooperating with you, that's going to dull your sparkle. And especially if you are experiencing burnout, fatigue, and overwhelm in your career, it is going to absolutely, absolutely dull your sparkle. Now, the reason why I wanted to bring all of this up is because that I believe that in you and in all of us, we have a way to sparkle in our own unique way. And the sparkle is really our own inner joy and our own inner peace. And it's our health and our abundance and our ability to be focused and motivated and allowing ourselves to be seen and in our radiance. And I truly believe that every single woman has her own inner sparkle and has the ability to access it. And even deeper, we become more of a sparkly being when we are in our orgasmic energy, not just having an orgasm or, clitoral body, but I mean, energetically, like energetic orgasms, energetic light, energy moving through and flowing through our body that creates that most radiance and that most beauty that I truly believe that every single person, and especially women on the planet, have the power and the ability and the access to have energetic orgasms, which make us the most brightest, sparkly beings on the planet Earth. And it is available and it is possible. It does take time. It does take practice. But fortunately, I've got a lot of some answers and I've got some solutions to help you be able to access that inner sparkle within you. So let's get into some of those pieces. Why don't we? Now, I started getting really interested in my own inner sparkle and sparkle light when I was healing myself from my cervical cancer. I discovered this book, gosh, I think it was probably like 16 years ago, by Doreen Virtue. And it was all about like never letting the world dim your sparkle. And I remember being in Barnes and Nobles and feeling depressed and feeling negative and feeling like, oh, fuck, like, am I going to be able to heal myself from this cancer, in a total negative spiral? And like I said, the negativity doesn't help us heal, nor does it help us live in our sparkle. But there I was in a negativity spiral drama cycle with myself, totally shackled to it, totally chained to it. And then I found the book. I saw the word sparkle, and that's why I always include it with my women because it resonated so deeply for me. I was working in a very fast-paced environment. I used to work with a company that does a lot of celebrity designing and branding and merchandising. I had a very fast-paced career, very high-powered, very, very lucrative, and also very much had me caught in my cycle of negativity. And so when I started to heal myself all naturally, I came across this book, and the word sparkle really resonated with me because I didn't know how to find my internal sparkle. I didn't know how to find my own inner light, and I didn't know where to go. And so that was one of the first places I went to. And in the journey, not only reading that book, which was really great, the book helped awaken me to understand, okay, sparkle is not just for young little girls. Like, sparkle is actually a beautiful feminine intrinsic quality that we all have. It's sensuality, it's liberation, it's energy, it's life, it's power, it's aliveness. And once I started to understand what that actually meant, of like the quality of the world of the word sparkle, I started to notice, okay, where in my life am I blocking? Like I said, for me, negative relationships. My body wasn't cooperating. I wanted my body to heal, and it had cancer in it. So the more that I was focusing on my body not cooperating with me, and I was identifying as someone who had cervical cancer, the more and more that my light was dimmed and the more and more I would be chained into that cycle. So one of the first things I did was started to change my own internal mantra and break free from the negative cycle. Instead of identifying as a woman who's got cervical cancer, who has HPV, who's going through this whole thing and this downward spiral of shame around sleeping with people before I was married and promiscuity in my early 20s, that wasn't serving me. It wasn't serving me. And my body was not serving me with those belief systems. In fact, I was ill. I was really ill and really sick, with some days being able to not even really get to the office or even eat or being able to make it to yoga or get out of bed. I was such in a downward spiral of depression and darkness and heaviness. And this is one of the things that started to literally change my life, was to change the identity that I had with myself, not as someone who was sick, not as someone who is a cancer, cancer patient that's needing to heal. It was, I'm a woman who's healing. I'm healing myself. I'm healing, I'm healing, I'm healing, I'm healing, I'm healing. And then the second one, my body is healing. Me and my body are getting to be teammates. Me and my body are cooperating. My body wants the best for me. My body wants the best for me. My body wants the best for me. So notice right there, getting into cooperation with my body, right there, starting to change that negative cycle, that negative patterning of self-doubt and negativity that I was having with myself that was creating overwhelm. And so those were some of the steps that I started to do. What else did I do? I broke up with a toxic boyfriend that I had at the time, who I didn't even know. This was how naive I was at the time. I didn't even know that there was such an abuse called verbal abuse. I had to look it up after I got the book, after I started seeing a therapist, and then was like, oh my God, I'm experiencing verbal abuse. I was so not aware of it because growing up in my Middle Eastern household, my dad would yell and scream at us and say curse words all the time. He was so verbally abusive to my mother and all of us. And the thing is, he also was verbally abusive to himself internally. And so we can't be loving and kind to others if we're not loving and kind to ourselves. So I just normalized it. Middle Eastern household, yelling, screaming, curse words in the family, normal, normal, normal. And then I actually realized and woke up to, oh my God, that's actually verbal abuse. It's really unhealthy and it's pretty damn toxic. And I was just had a really high tolerance for it. And so that became my next standard of my identity of I will never tolerate verbal abuse. I will never tolerate any man or person talking bad to me, name calling me, verbally attacking me, verbally shaming or slandering me at all. And I would not do that to myself. Suddenly I started to come alive. I made that decision to break up with that boyfriend, let go of that toxic, difficult relationship. And wow, what started happening? My body started to cooperate. I started waking up with more hope, with more positivity, with more light, naturally, more light naturally. I started feeling lighter in my body naturally, right? And I started feeling better and better about myself because I was making these really good decisions and I was changing my identity to see myself as someone who was worthy and deserving enough to live a happy, healed, healthy life. And I let go of the narratives of being too much and not enough. And I just focused on being happy, healthy, and healed. That was what I focused on. And when I focused on that, my light started coming alive. I started to literally see like light and sparkle in my eyes that I had never seen in my life before because it was filled with so much doubt and so much negativity and so much heaviness and so much despair and so much self-hatred that slowly, 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 it started to dissolve and dissolve. Why? Because I wasn't letting anyone dull my sparkle. It was up to me to make that decision. And it was a day in, day out decision. And it really started with cutting out the fat. Like difficult relationships had to go, right? Challenging circumstances, which was dealing with being sick and being ill, that wasn't going anywhere. But the way that I approached it, the way that I identified with it and detached my identity from a sick person to a well person, that changed things. The things that I was tolerating, no longer being a drama queen, no longer talking about being sick or ill and making it a problem, but talking about the new recipes that I was learning as I began to cook for myself and learning about meditation. And I started sharing about meditation and sharing about yoga before anyone was really talking about it. I seemed like such an oddball, right? Again, couldn't control what people were thinking about me, but I didn't care because I was feeling happier. I was feeling more free. And that to me is the most important piece because I raised my standard for myself and who I want to be and who I was becoming as a result of the path that I was choosing for myself. And that's where you feel this passion from. That's where you feel this power from. It was forged through the fire of my deepest pain and my deepest illness and the depths of my darkness of doubt and negativity. I hated myself. I hated who I looked in the mirror and saw. I hated the person that was never the most beautiful one, or always was the one who got the guy last, or didn't get the guy, or was never invited, or lost as prom queen and lost as homecoming queen, or the one who put in all of her efforts and yet friends still talked about her behind her back and exiled her from friends groups, from college to even many years ago as an adult. Like those pieces, right? I'm to my mid 20s and 30s. It's like all of those pieces started to just naturally fall away through what I'm telling you is this scientific research that's been done on like the science of sparkle. And again, I got this from Doreen Virtue, who is a spiritual teacher who studied this, and I followed it. I was a student of it. And because I really took these approaches, I started to let go of my past responses that maybe would have, triggered traumatic events for me in the past, or were my own way of like, I would feel trigger from post-traumatic stress or complex PTSD, and I would be triggered and I would be triggered. I'd be hooked all the time on these drama stories. And those hooks constantly kept me small and hiding and fearful and sick and burnt out and in unhealthy relational dynamics, both romantically and friendship and family. There's no way I was going to actually sparkle in my life. There was no way I could let go and feel relieved of the feelings of anxiety and overwhelm. When I'm constantly hooked into these stories, I had to stop allowing negativity into my life. And that started with the negativity in the stories I was telling myself. So if you are in a place in your life when you are wanting to now expand and experience more of your sparkle, this is your invitation, right? This is your invitation to shift the negative stories in the mind and then bring it into the body, right? Really bring it into the body. And it was great to read the book, and it was great to take these practical steps, and you can do any or all of these that I've just told you, right? And if you want some more support to go step by step, I invite you to check out my Bliss method on my website, josephinabashout.com. Under the digital products, you'll find it as Bliss method. I take you through my 5 step-by-step process over this bridge to bliss, from pain and negativity and hiding and self-doubt, step by step, through this hour-long process that you can do rinse and repeat, into a state of bliss, into a state of expansion, into a state where you will be blissed out and sparkling with me day in and day out. And I created the Bliss method because so many of my clients were experiencing overwhelm and burnout, and were experiencing difficult relationships and finding it really hard to stay in a state of radiance and joy. And we're hooked to these drama stories. Why? Because it gets crystallized in the body. And without doing the somatic work to unlock and unfreeze the body and unhook ourselves from these drama stories, just doing the intellectual and the mind work alone won't take you very far or create the sustainable change that's really available. And like I said at the beginning of this episode, this Bliss method will also tap you into the access point, the direct access point of where you can start to access that sparkle, that bliss, that orgasmic universal energy that'll have you feeling a little bit turned on, feeling a little bit sexy in the safety and the comfort of your own home first and foremost. And then take what I've said here to start to heal these cycles that you've been in of negativity, heal the cycle of hiding, heal the cycle of believing that you're too much or believing that you're not enough, and actually break free of this paradox and just be yourself, loves. Just be who you are. Start to come out. Let your spirit and your soul shine. Let your light and yourself come alive, and really see yourself as someone who deserves aliveness in their life, because you do deserve that. Every single one of us deserves that. And when we can understand that these are just psychological reasons and high drama reasons and high drama responses, and maybe they're traumatic or post-traumatic responses, that we're just caught in that cycle, the Bliss method will start to deactivate, unwire, and decrystallize all of those stories somatically through simply just moving it through the sensation, not staying hooked anymore, and actually unhooking ourselves from those experiences. And I share that with you in helping you embody your personal power in all areas of your life. And this will help you in love, this will help you in business, it'll help you be a better lover, and more importantly, just be able to really love yourself more deeply. And what I say is, like, come out of the feminine spiritual closet. Let yourself dance more. Let yourself be seen more. Let yourself shine more. Let yourself start to receive all that you desire instead of being afraid and pushing it away and repelling it. Because that's what happens when we shrink, when we hide, when we believe that we're too much or we're not enough. We're now in a repulsion of everything that it is that we desire. It can only find us when we're residing in this deep, authentic place of self-worthiness and knowing that we are worthy and deserving of everything that we desire to have, which includes health and wealth and well-being and sex and orgasms and all the goodness that life has to offer. So this is my invitation for you to expand, to embrace the journey of becoming an expander for your own community, for the people around you, to not try to control other people's perceptions or perspectives of you in your journey as they're witnessing you grow and expand and reconnect to your inner light. And I'll tell you, on the other side of that journey, right, living proof that there will come a day when people will come back and say, wow, you used to really trigger me, but I love what you're doing. You used to really trigger me and I wasn't ready for it, but I like what you've got now. Or I got over it and I got curious, or I couldn't do it myself, but I watched you and you were a source of inspiration for me. And so now I took one step. You never know who you can be the role model for in your own life, in your own community. And that's the magic of the priestess, like self-healing prophecies. You've got that magic and that power to lead yourself, to access. We don't need to have someone be a channel for us for the divine. You have your own gifts to access the divine goddess within yourself. Take that step. Check out my Bliss method. Do any of the things that I've mentioned on this episode. And if you do it, please feel free to send me a note. I would love to hear how it went for you, and sending you all so much love. Remember, do not let anyone dull your sparkle, including yourself. Keep your gaze up, wear your power strong, and continue to give yourself a little wink in the eye whenever you have a chance. Love you so much.